everybody, my name's Sam. Welcome to my channel Frugalisama, where I talk about all things sewing. Today's video is a quick review of the top that I'm wearing. It's called the Vera top and it's by Forget Me Not Patterns. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what I thought of the pattern. First of all, I'd just like to say welcome to anybody who's new. I've had quite a few new subscribers this week, so thank you very much, and thank you very much to everyone who keeps coming back every week to watch these videos. Very much appreciated. If you like this sort of thing, I do reviews and hints and tips and things like that. If you hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell will tell you when I have new videos out. So I'm going to do a quick review of this top, and then at the end I've got a little bit of some notifications for you. So if you can stick to the end, I'll give you some updates on a few things. A competition that I've seen and a few little bits and bats that I've seen throughout the week. So on to today's video. So early last week I saw a notification from Jo of Forget Me Not Patterns where she posted this free t-shirt, and it went straight to the top of the queue. I've not sewn with Forget Me Not patterns before, so I always think a free pattern is a great way to get to know how a designer puts together patterns and how the instructions go. She did say, you know, she's put it out as a thank you for her supporting her company, and that, you know, you can give her company a try for free. So as soon as I saw it, I thought, yeah, I really like the design of that. I'll give it a go. So if you've not come across Forget Me Not patterns before, she has about 9 patterns on there, including this free one. Recently released a gathered skirt, which is called the Ella skirt, and there's about 9 patterns so far on her website, and they all retail in about the $13 to $14 mark, so that works out at about £9 or £10. I would say it veers on the younger side, but she has got some really nice, interesting design details. She released this because she didn't want a too basic t-shirt, so you've got some nice design details in this, in that it's got the v-neck and you've got some long cuffs, like a bell sleeve which is gathered into the cuff. Yeah, it's beyond your basic tee. So she is based in New Zealand, and she has some really nice designs. There's a couple that caught my eye certainly, so I might be going back and having a try on some of her other patterns. I'll run through some of the design details and how I found the instructions, and then I will show you what it looks like whilst I'm talking as well. So I just wanted to get this video out before we lose all the light here today, so I'm just fighting against time a little bit, so I hope I'm not rushing it too much. The pattern is designed for the averagely curved figure and a B cup, and for someone who is 5'6". So if you're much smaller or much taller than that, you might need to add or take some length out of the body. It goes from sizes 28 to 48, and that pretty much reflects what the bust sizing is. So from a size 28.5 inch bust to a size 48.5 inch bust. And she advises that you choose your garment on your actual bust size. So I'm a 37 inch bust, so I chose to sew the size 38, which for me it worked out absolutely fine. The waist size range is interesting. It goes from the 21.5 inch to the 41.5 inch. It does start at the more petite end, and I think oftentimes that does get a little bit missed out when designers are talking about inclusivity. There are as many people that are on the petite range as they are at the other end of the spectrum. It's quite difficult to sort of knock that when it's a free pattern, really. Being 5'8", I didn't actually add anything into it. I think I might have had to do if perhaps I was doing something full length like a dress, because a lot of the designs that she's got on her website, they look on the short side for me. It's designed to have 2 inches of negative ease at the bust, so quite fitted at the bust and then just gently coming out at the waist and hips, and it's got a gentle curve on the bottom of the hem. So it's a little bit looser at the waist. So the 21.5 inch waist is a finished waist of 26, so you've got sort of probably about 5.5 inches there of ease. and the 41.5 inch waist finishes at 46 inches. So I knew that I was better off going with my bust size rather than my waist size, because there's enough ease in there without me having to grade out. I'm usually about 32-33 inch waist, so I usually need to grade out at the waist. And I would say that the sizing has come up quite accurate, probably coming off my shoulders a little bit there, but not enough to concern me. And it's round the bust really. I don't want anything too tight and clingy. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the size in there. One thing to note about this pattern is that the seam allowance is 1/4 inch, and I think that's something I prefer, that because you've got less waist, and that is one of the things that she's actually noted in all the details, is that she actually uses different seam allowances in different parts, probably throughout all of her patterns. The cuffs are sewed at 3/8 inch, and that's because you're putting gathers in. So if you were only using 1/4 inch, it'd be quite difficult to put 2 rows of gathering stitches in. But everything else is at 1/4 inch. So you've got less waist, and you've got less. It's easier and faster because you're not actually cutting down and grading all the time. It suits me, but it is something to keep a note of and to look out for. I know a lot of people like to steam in there and sew things without reading the instructions, so it's worth having a read through. And you know, you can always go a size up and sew at 3/8 inch or a bigger seam allowance if that's what you prefer to sew at. Because it's a knit, 1/4 inch is a good seam allowance to use, because you can put that straight onto the serger without having to trim too much off. So although it's V-necked, you've only got a very gentle V-neck here, and it's not a deep plunging V-neck. I do quite like this. If you're not a V-neck fan, there is a scoop neck option at an additional cost of $2, and that scoop neck variation is okay for this top, and she's got another one, I think it's called the Iris, and you can use it on both of those tops, which I think is a nice little touch. It works out at £1.50. If you're wanting a scoop neck and you've got a t-shirt, I think you can probably just draft that in yourself just by using an existing pattern. So you've got 3 options on the sleeves. You've got the deep cuff that I've gone for here, so that's about 5.5 inches in length as a cuff. There is a short cuff option, sew it together and then fold it in half. So that probably end up about 1.25 inches. The thing to remember with that is that the actual sleeves are all the same. It's all the same sleeve, so your cuff will end up round about here on your arm. And then there's the option to leave the sleeves off completely, and then you would have a huge, she calls it a flared sleeve, a bell sleeve, whatever you want to call it. So that's a pattern piece for that. This is what it'll end up like. Obviously that goes round, so it's a half of it. So it is quite flared. So I probably wouldn't make that variation. Just end up with it in my dinner and what have you. So I'm a bit clumsy. So V-neck, 3 sleeve options, and then the hem you've got, it's just a gentle curve on the hem. Because I'm trying to film this before we lose all the light, I haven't finished my hem, so full disclosure there. So I've got the twin needling to do on my hem, but just at the moment I've just got it tucked in. I'll just pull it out so you can see where it hits at the hip. So what we're mid hip there, and it's to turn up. So it's slightly lower at the back than it is at the front. Really like the style of it, the design of it. I've made no alterations. I've cut a straight 38. So this is a front pattern piece, and you can just see there at the sides, fairly straight through the bust to the waist, and then comes out at the hip. So not figure hugging, as in it's not really tight. It's just figure skimming, which I think is quite nice. And that's your pattern piece for your deep cuff. That gets folded in half. Sleeves get gathered into that, so that sleeve that I've just shown you there, so there's quite a lot of gathering into this quite narrow cuff. So it is classed as an intermediate sew, and I would say that that's been put on there because it's got a V-neck. If you're wanting the if you don't feel that your skills are there, she does hold your hand through that V-neck, and if you've watched any of my work from home module videos where I struggled with the V-neck with that McCall's top, I would say that the insertion of this is easier. The pattern piece is finished as a V like that, so you fold it in together and then open it out. So these are 1/4 of an inch, and then you've just got that nice V already formed, and you put the V-neck in the round, whereas the McCall's one you're putting it in flat, and it didn't. I couldn't get my head around that one. That one, my top tip on that one is to baste it in first, which is what I did. She also doesn't recommend that you put that V-neck in on your overlocker. She recommends doing it on your sewing machine. You can overlock it afterwards if you want to do. I haven't bothered because I'm going to twin needle it down, and it's not necessary. But it sits nice and flat as it is. It doesn't really need the twin needling, to be honest. But yeah, quite happy with the instructions on that one. A lot happier than I was on the McCall's one anyway. So the instructions were really good and clear. There is an opportunity to print off in layers, so you can just print off the sizes that you want. There is also a little diagram showing you which pieces to print. So if you're only wanting the short cuff, you don't have to print off the long cuff. There are only 23 pages to print off if you're printing from home, and there is a AO copy shop option as well, so if you don't want to do the cutting and printing at home, but it is only 23 pages, but not everybody's got a home printer. But I do like the printing off in layers because it's just easier. If that's not something that you've used before and it confuses you a little bit, you can print off as many as you want. So for example, if you were one size at your bust and another at your hips and another one at your waist, you could print all those 3 sizes off and then do the grading yourself. But when you've got multiple lines, it's just easier to print them off in layers. And what you do with that is you download the PDF, and in the top left hand corner there is a little icon that looks like pages, and you just click on that and you click on the sizes that you don't want, just to clarify if you've never used it before, because not everybody has. The instructions have got lots of really good tips within them, one of them being this neckline to sew it in on the machine rather than on your overlocker. The other one is to test the width of these sleeves. You can see how snug this is on my wrists, and I have got very narrow wrists, but I've got big hands, relatively big hands. Just move my light because we're losing light here, and it's doing all sorts of weird things. Sorry about that. So yeah, I've got quite big hands, so just try that cuff on before you attach it to the main sleeve, and it does say that within the instructions, as well as having to wash in fabric before and testing your stitches before you go ahead as well. But I think it's all good advice, and she does warn you about different seam allowances as well on there. Usual advice with sewing with knits, you need a little bit of fusible interfacing to go onto the shoulder seam here, just to keep it steady. You don't have to use fusible interfacing, you can use anything that's just going to stabilise it, a bit of twill tape, anything that's just going to stabilise it. If you haven't got an overlocker, it doesn't matter. It is designed, the pattern is designed to go straight through an overlocker with that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, but you really don't need to finish seams on a knit. So this is a fabric uncut. That's not going to go anywhere. A single jersey might roll, but it's not gonna fray, so you don't need to finish your seams. So for fabric, she does recommend at least 10% stretch, horizontal stretch, and you can use a 2-way or a 4-way stretch, so something that stretches that way and something that stretches that way and that way. That's 4-way stretch, even though it's only two. It's always very confusing, is that one. A viscose jersey or a merino jersey. I've never used a merino jersey. I'm not sure where you can get it in the UK at a decent price. But if you know about anywhere, let me know, because I think that would be great for a winter and we're coming into winter in the UK here. I know down in Australia and what have you, you're coming into summer. So this is a single cotton jersey that I had in my stash. I bought it for another project. So it's a navy blue background, and it's got like burnt orange dots on it. So it's just a single cotton jersey that I bought from Fabworks. It's unlikely that they've still got this because I've had this probably about a year. So just light to medium weight knits basically. She does recommend that you can use a sweater knit and light to medium weight double knits as well. I wouldn't want anything too heavy if you'd gather in your sleeves, because you've got a lot of gathering to go into that really quite small cuff. So I wouldn't want anything too heavy going into there. So just watch that before you start. She recommends 1.6 metres for 140 wide fabric for the one with the long cuffs, and 1.3 metres for 140 wide fabric for the shorter cuffs. It takes quite a lot of fabric up, does that pattern piece. I can't tell you how much I use on mine because I forgot to measure it, but I would imagine that the smaller sizes you could probably, a metre and a half I think you get away with, because it is saying 140 wide, and my fabric was a lot wider. I think it was closer to 160 wide, which you do occasionally get those odd ones like that. If you want to see other versions, if she has done a full blog post about it with all the tester versions on it, and there's some really nice versions on there, different variations. One of the variations is something that she's taken off the pattern, and that is an even deeper cuff. So I think the cuff went probably an inch or two deeper. So that would be quite easy to do. You'll be adding an extra inch or so on here. Quite a few have done a contrast neckband here to match in with the cuffs. So a patterned body and sleeves, and then a plain cuff and neckband. And one or two of them have done the main body and the cuffs and the neckband and the cuffs in one fabric, and then the sleeves in a different fabric. So there's been some really nice ideas. So if you pop onto her blog post, have a look at those, and on Instagram as well. There's a few popping up here and there of people that have made them. Wearability, I think I was a little bit worried that, you know, something with all this gathering, I'm not going to get it underneath a cardigan. But to be quite honest, it's not that bad. I'll get a loose fitting cardigan, I will get it over the top of this, and it's long sleeve, so it's nice and quite warm anyway. So I've got it on with my paper bag trousers today, which was part of the work from home capsule, and I think it fits in nicely with that. So just to sum up before I completely lose the light, I really did enjoy sewing this pattern. It's a free pattern, and if you sign up to her newsletter you get 10% off her patterns anyway. And I've not paid to say any of this, I've just found them myself. The instructions are really well written, found the pattern to be really well drafted. My only little thing that I found was when you're gathering into the sleeves, there's no actual pattern markings where to gather. So I've just bobbed her, she just says do it from an inch in, because you don't want the gathering going into that seam there. She does tell you to come in an inch in, so I've just put that marking on my pattern for future use, and there will definitely be more of these. So that's it, I think. In summary, it's a really nice pattern, easy sew. I'm not going to say how long it takes you to sew because we're all different. So just a few little notes at the end, and you might have noticed I haven't put a 100 days of sewing video up this week, and I apologise for that. I've got one recorded, that will go up on Tuesday next week. My next 100 days of sewing will be gift ideas for people who sew, and I've got a couple of that series coming up, and then I've got some free bag patterns video coming up. I wondered if people would be interested in me coming on sort of briefly once a week and just giving you a heads up of any new patterns or competitions that I've seen. This week on Instagram I've seen there's a competition to win a new sewing machine, and I think things like that you need to move pretty fast. So if you go to the Frugalisama website and the Fabric Godmother website, they have got a free sewing machine up for grabs, Last date for entry is the 24th of November, and all you need to do is tell them what your proudest make is. So that's a few parish notes. Another parish note is, I don't know if any of you watch Claire from Penguin and Pear. We're all part of a big sewing community here, and we're all here to support each other. And Claire along with Mel from Dixie Tulip run a sewing vlogger Facebook group that a lot of us are part of. So we all kind of support each other. Claire has had some sort of accident. I don't think it's serious, but it does mean that she won't be able to put any videos out. I don't know any details about it except what she's put onto Instagram. On Instagram, please keep watching her videos, and just to keep her name up there. So if people are interested in that sort of video, Claire does a lot of videos for plus size sewists, but they're relevant to everybody. So go on there and give her some support, and make sure that, because it's her living, you know, not everybody's making a living out of this, but it is her living, and it'd be nice if you could go over there and support her. So I will leave a link to Claire's videos below me, so that you can go and support her. Yeah, I thought it would be nice if I could come on weekly and just do a quick video of things that have caught my eye, competitions, challenges, free patterns like this one. Sometimes free patterns come out and then they are paid for, so you don't always have to act quickly. This, as far as I know, is going to be free all the time. Or, you know, if there's discounts on or something like that, or sales. One of the pattern companies had quite a big sale on last week, and it'd be nice to let people know. So let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in. So I'm going to leave it there for now and get off before I'm videoing in the dark, and hopefully get this up on Sunday for you, and I'll get back into my normal routine next week. I'll keep forgetting to say. I'm Frugalisama on Instagram, and I have a blog that I don't always write a lot on, but I blog over at Frugalisama as well, and I'll put all the details of those below. If anybody watches any of these videos and you're wondering what I'm wearing and I've forgotten to say, I almost always say what I'm wearing underneath my videos, and patterns that I've taught to. It's always linked below. So this pattern will be linked below. I only mention it because somebody emailed me the other day and said that apron that you were sewing, thought it was one of mine, and I thought it was quite clear that it wasn't. It was a Tessuti free apron. I try to link as much as I can below. So come and follow me on Instagram, and we'll have a chat there as well. And please comment below if you fancy making this and what you think of it. Let me know if you plan on sewing it, and who in the UK supplies merino knits. Let me know below. That's it from me today. Thanks for watching. Bye.